So thank you for joining us today for this webinar about the D visas. With me, or D7 and D8 specifically, with me, Manuela Sena was a senior immigration consultant, and Enrique Faria was a tax lawyer. We will mostly focus on the immigration side of the D7 and D8 visas, but as everything else that we do, we also always bring in the tax aspect, and we will discuss the tax significance of these visas as well. So thank you very much for joining me today. Perhaps starting with kind of a quick rundown of what are the D7 and D8 visas, Manuela, and how do they differ from each other?
Well, the D7, the main requirement is for the applicant to provide evidence of having passive income, and the D8 is for someone who will be working remotely in the country. The entire list of requirements is like it's very similar from each other, but the main difference is D7 is for passive income, and the D8 is for if you will be working remotely.
But no problem, if you have both, you can choose.
Yes, this happens many times that one applicant fulfill the requirements for more than one option. In terms of paperwork and the minimum income, the D7 is easier. It's more simple than when compared with the D8. The D7, you must provide a passive income of the equivalent of one minimum salary in Portugal, and the D8 is the active income of 4 times the minimum salary. So for the D8, you need to provide more documents, and the income is a bit higher.
And there are 2 different types of D8s, right?
Yes. For someone who just plans to stay temporarily in Portugal, up to 2 years, you just request a visa that will not be converted into a residence permit or citizenship in the future. It's just a visa valid for 1 year, and then you can extend your stay for another year, so total of 2 years. Or the temporary visa that will be converted into a residence permit. It's a visa that will be valid for 120 days, just like the D7, and then within this period of 120 days, the applicant must convert the visa into a residence permit.
And where do you request these visas?
Well, for all the visas are all requested at the Portuguese consulate, but in some countries, it works through the Portuguese consulate official partner, like VFS. It's called VFS Global, or in a few cases, it's also through a portal called eVisa. So it depends from country to country.
Okay, so you requested before you come?
Yes.
Okay. And so kind of going back to, I think, the most interesting question, if you make, you have a well-paying job, like a software developer or a tax lawyer, for example, and you make enough to qualify for the D8, which one should you go for? But you also have investments that generate passive income.
Well, I would say the D7, because in terms of paperwork, it's, as I said, it's a bit more simple, and then, maybe the analysis can take less, and when the D8, there is more papers for the authorities to review. In terms of documents, the D7.
And how long does it typically take to get approved?
Well, it depends. This can vary a lot, but generally around 6 months. Because once you request the visa, the authorities, they have 60 days to analyze the request. So around 2 months. Then once the visa is issued, the visa is valid for 4 months. So, and then it depends also on the travel arrangements, the client's, the applicant's situation. Within this period of 4 months, they have to come to Portugal to convert the visa into a residence permit. So then it's that's when they attend to an appointment with the immigration office. That now it's IMA. And after this appointment, around 1 month or 2 months, they will receive the residence permit. So it depends, but generally 6 months.
Okay. Enrique, moving to you. So someone works from Portugal and may or may not qualify for either a D8 or a D7 visa. what do people need to do from a tax perspective?
Okay, so as Manuela said, after you get your visa, you come to Portugal, you go to the immigration service, you're going to get your residency permit. So now you have your residency in Portugal. Now is your time to get your tax resident. So we go to the tax authority and register you as a tax resident. If you applied, for example, as a D8, you are telling the tax authority that you're going to be in Portugal working for a company or as a freelancer, for example. It's important for you, you have mandatory duties with the tax authority. If you provide freelancer activity in Portugal, you must open a formal freelancer activity with the tax authority. Meaning you have to invoice from the tax authority portal every month or whenever you provide a service for a client, and you have to use this formal invoice system called green receipts, recibos verdes, here in Portugal. If you are a formal employee, you must ask your company, your international company, to register here in Portugal, or you can use EOR, Employment of Records. So you have to be aware that if you are in Portugal rendering service, even though your client is an international client, it is considered a Portuguese source of income. So you must declare in your tax return and also pay taxes here in Portugal. If you have an HR, you're going to have a lot of benefits. If you provide a high-value activity, or if you go abroad to provide some kind of service there, we have to analyze each case. But it's important for you, if you are having a work here in Portugal, to comply with the tax authority.
So register as a tax resident.
Yes.
File a tax return every year.
From April to June every year.
And if you're an employee, either have your employer register or use an employer of record. And if you're a freelancer, register as a freelancer and issue green receipts. Right? These summarizing what you've just said.
Yes, and it's important when you open a freelancer activity, for example, during your first year, you have a taxable income discount. You also can have 11 months, 12 months not paying Social Security here in Portugal. So it's important for you to know that the right time to change your residency to Portugal, so you can become a tax resident. It's important to know when you get the resident permit here in Portugal, the immigration side with Manuela, and then you have also it's mandatory you have 60 days to change your address to Portugal, and then you're going to be considered a Portuguese tax resident. And as you said, Zev, you're right. You have to file a tax return here in Portugal regarding your worldwide income and comply with the Portuguese tax legislation.
Also fair to say that once you become a tax resident, sort of planning changes and structural changes in how you operate become more difficult, right?
Right. You have like European directives that you as a Portuguese tax resident, you must comply. For example, if you are the owner of a new company, international structure, so it's better for you before becoming a Portuguese tax resident, structure well your company, your partners, where you are managing this activity, so you can, for example, be entitled of passive income. If you come for a D7, for example, you can structure like a US LLC or a Maltese company, Cyprus companies, and get like dividends or distribution. Here in Portugal, there's a lot of requirements to benefit from the NHR, but it's possible for you to manage well your company abroad and get these NHR benefits here in Portugal.
So you mentioned NHR, and kind of interestingly, we're recording this video just at the time when NHR is approaching an end and the new scheme is being introduced, and the budget is not yet available, so you don't know exactly what the criteria of the new scheme. But it seems like the new scheme is going to put startup incentives at the forefront of it. So we will need to keep following and analyzing both the immigration side and the tax side of how this is going to look like in the future.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, short video on D7s and D8s. Thank you very much, Manuela. Thank you, Enrique. And thank you for joining us.